What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on ESPN with a 12-team full PPR mock where we will be selecting from the 10th overall spot. So should be pretty interesting. And while we wait for this thing to load, quick reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there on Twitter. Let us hear in the comments section your thoughts along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. And then lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, now available for purchase. Everything you can want at a great value. Top 150 overall player rankings in standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. All those details in the description. And with that being said, we can turn our attention to this draft. The first pick has been made. It is Jonathan Taylor. Now, again, like I said before, this is a full PPR draft. So Jonathan Taylor, even though I have somebody like a Christian McCaffrey, ranked a little bit higher, is going to be a popular choice. He doesn't have as much risk, kind of tied to his name. So that's why right now he's being viewed as that number one guy. But I've said before, if we're talking just purely projections on health, being assumed, then McCaffrey, especially in PPR formats, has to be the, in contention for that number one pick. So far, the first four picks, they've pretty much gone according to the rankings ESPN has. Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, and then we'll go 5 for 5. Why not? Justin Jefferson, the first 5 players in their respective orders. The first deviation that we have here comes at pick 6 with Derrick Henry. Followed by Jamar Chase getting back to that previously stated order. So we're in a spot here, 10th overall, kind of looking at it, running back wise, I wouldn't be mad at a Dalvin Cook, not one bit. Somebody like a Najee Harris wouldn't be a bad value. Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, looking at those names. And then, we could also consider wide receivers. So we have a lot of options here. I imagine these next 2 picks, one of them will be Najee Harris, and then potentially Dalvin Cook. If those are the next 2 picks, then I'll probably go with Alvin Kamara and a player to be determined in the second round. But right now, I think it's a pretty easy decision for us. I really do. Dalvin Cook made it to us here with the 10th pick overall. I'm not going to hesitate. I have him as a top 5 running back on the year. I think he's, an underrated, good dual threat running back. So very excited to get him with the 10th pick in the first round. I think, guys like a Najee Harris potentially going to have a little bit of a decline compared to last season. So Dalvin Cook, very happy where we got him. Ooh, Alvin Kamara just went with the 202. Let's quickly look at what happened after our Dalvin Cook selection. We saw Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams. So the top wide receivers, in my eyes, are off the board. Then you see Deebo Samuel, Alvin Kamara. So here we could go, I would say, one of 2 ways. We could go with a guy in, DeAndre Swift. We could go with a Aaron Jones. We could go with a Saquon Barkley. I'll probably go with, honestly, here, who do you have ranked higher? I do have Aaron Jones ranked higher than DeAndre Swift, just barely. So our starting combo, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, loading up on those NFC North running backs. Honestly, whether it was Swift, whether it was Aaron Jones, I don't think we could have gone wrong with either one. Saquon Barkley was also in contention, but I feel like I've, been drafting a lot of Saquon Barkley as of late. So back to, kind of diversifying the rosters a little bit more so and, shifting attention to some other running backs as well. Now, after our Aaron Jones pick, you saw DeAndre Swift picked immediately afterwards, then CeeDee Lamb, then Tyreek Hill, and now Javonte Williams. So a couple things here to me that stick out. First and foremost, Javonte Williams going ahead of guys like Leonard Fournette, ahead of a Saquon Barkley, ahead of an Ezekiel Elliott, hell, even ahead of a Nick Chubb. To me, as long as, assuming we have a healthy Melvin Gordon. I wouldn't be touching Javonte Williams in the second round, really in any format. But that's just me. Obviously, we have to see once we get close to the start of the season what that backfield looks like, the health, most importantly, of both of those lead guys. But if they're both healthy, I think it's going to be safe to presume that Melvin Gordon isn't just going to go away. And speaking of the running back position, the last almost 4 picks were all running backs. Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley. So there goes Saquon Barkley. Goes with the 10th pick in the second round. Tremendous value there. Really like that. As talented as a guy in Nick Chubb that he might be, I still don't think he should be going, especially in fantasy formats, ahead of Leonard Fournette, ahead of Saquon Barkley. To me, that's ludicrous. I don't think he should be going ahead of Ezekiel Elliott, especially in PPR scoring. So I do want to point that out. Then we had our run on our top 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. There goes Keenan Allen, and then James Conner. So, we're in a situation here where we're picking towards the end of every round, at least, depending on which way it snakes, but we were picking 10th overall, so basically towards the end of that first round. And that means, a lot of these players where there's some really good value, they probably won't last until our turn because we pretty much have to wait 20 selections until we get a chance to make, another pick. At least when it's not in those kind of back-to-back, slots like you see here. But because of that, I think we're going to be missing out on guys like Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Pittman, unfortunately. But we've got some other backups, and I do think we did the smart thing in starting out with 2 running backs here, all things considered. Because if Ezekiel Elliott is gone, then we've done a very good job with our running back selections, at least. Right now, I was saying if Mike Evans was there at the end of the 3rd round, he'd be a great value. DJ Moore goes afterwards, so a little bit of a run on wide receivers here. Higgins, Mike Evans, DJ Moore. Before that, we saw James Conner and Cam Akers. So right now, if I had it my way, it'd be either Michael Pittman or Ezekiel Elliott. Michael Pittman literally goes the pick before us. So this is a pretty easy choice. We are going Ezekiel Elliott. The fact that he fell to the end of the 3rd round, I think, is absolutely ludicrous. I say that about him every single draft, honestly, though. Getting him at any point in the 3rd round, in my opinion, is an absolute steal. So very happy that we have him as our flex play. Now looking at this, looking at upside, Deontay Johnson has been a guy that I've been staying away from. I just, I don't believe in that situation in Pittsburgh. The quarterbacks scare me. So I'm going to stay away from Deontay Johnson here. Jerry Jeudy is somebody that's tempting, obviously, with Russell Wilson. Who do you have ranked higher? Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Marquis Brown is still also available. I think he, out of these guys, he's got potentially some of the highest upside, at least for the start of the season. So I'm going to go with Marquis Brown here at the beginning of the 4th round as our first wide receiver. We could have also gotten Travis Etienne. We could have gone guys like Kyle Pitts, but I wanted to hit the wide receiver position, a little bit sooner so that we don't completely, punt at that position. Other guys that were, in contention, I mentioned them before, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. I just have a very hard time differentiating between the two, trying to pinpoint who is going to be the 1A to the 1B in that offense. So I've kind of been staying away from both of them for that reason, to potentially go in other areas where I think the wide receiver situation is a little bit more clear. I feel like that's the case with Marquise Brown in Arizona. Right now, we've still got a ways to go in between our next couple of picks. But for wide receiver, I'd love if Allen Robinson can drop to us. I'd be very excited if, maybe even Michael Thomas, somebody like just scrolling down here the list, maybe even a George Kittle. I'd be very happy with that. A Juju Smith-Schuster. I think we're going to have a couple of good choices because I wouldn't be shocked here if we see a little bit of a quarterback run that helps us out. After our selection of Marquis Brown, you saw Mike Williams, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson. So, the next couple of top-end running backs all off the board, even though I think Travis Etienne is leaps and bounds better than those guys, at least for fantasy purposes this season. You see Josh Allen, good value on Josh Allen, all things considered, even though he's still the first quarterback drafted. He goes in the 4th round with the 7th pick. Then Deontay Johnson finally, followed by Kyle Pitts, DK Metcalf. I don't like Kyle Pitts going this early ahead of Kittle, ahead of Waller. You see Cortland Sutton goes off, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. So I was right, a little bit of a run on quarterbacks with Herbert and Mahomes. Then you see Brendan Cooks, Chris Godwin, Amon-Ra. There goes Travis Etienne. So with the 5th pick in the 5th round, Elijah Mitchell, Miles Sanders, Darnell Mooney, and Devin Singletary. So we're in our spot right now. Jerry Jeudy is still available. I do personally have Allen Robinson ranked higher. And, for that reason, I'm probably going to go with him first. And then we'll see what we do afterwards with potentially a tight end, potentially, something else, another wide receiver, getting depth. We will be able to get a tight end, though, out of either Waller or Kittle, I'm pretty sure. I don't want to jinx us, but I guess if auto pick strikes and goes tight ends with the next 2 picks, then that won't be the case. But we still have some very, very good options nonetheless. I mentioned guys like Juju Smith, Rashad Bateman. We could even go with a quarterback if we wanted to. Ooh, there goes Darren Waller. There goes George Kittle. So, hey, was not meant to be, but, it's not the end of the world. We will just go with a guy that we really like in Juju Smith-Schuster here and then figure it out afterwards. So probably should have gone, tight end first, then gone Allen Robinson. But I was really scared that he was going to, get selected in that span of, 4 picks. And I'm guessing if it wasn't for auto pick, we would have had our choice of at least Waller or Kittle. So it's not really the end of the world, in my opinion. And, even if we don't land Kittle or Waller, I think we're still doing a good job on loading up on talent, loading up on value, which honestly right now is the most important thing in my eyes. I'm looking at the tight end position. Let's quickly, kind of scroll to it here. And we've still got some really good choices. Goddard, Ertz, Cole Kmet, TJ Hawkinson even. So it could be a lot worse at the tight end position. I think we can still get a guy that finishes inside the top 10 in the, 7th round. So that's really all I need there. After our Juju Smith pick, we see Lamar Jackson, then Dalton Schultz, Amari Cooper, Michael Thomas, and Gabriel Davis. The fact that Rashad Bateman is still available, that's, a steal in my opinion. Kareem Hunt. Let's look at our running back situation here. Let's quickly look at our running backs, see where they are. Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damian Harris. Right now, out of all these guys, honestly, if I'm taking a chance on upside, I think by far A.J. Dillon is the most intriguing guy. And we do have Aaron Jones for what it's worth. Even though A.J. Dillon has standalone value, very, very valuable handcuff as well. So he's going to be somebody that's on our radar in the 7th round. As far as wide receivers, let's quickly look at it. I mentioned Rashad Bateman. I mentioned, somebody like a Michael Thomas who was drafted here with the 7th pick in the 6th round. Not bad value. We still have Elijah Moore, Alan Lazard, guys that we've targeted before in the past. Hunter Renfrow, somebody that I like. There goes Rashad Bateman and Hunter Renfrow. So we might very well pivot from the wide receiver position. I mean, we have picked wide receivers with our last 3 picks. Our first 3 picks, all running backs, now all wide receivers with our last 3. So we've hit I would argue, the most important skill positions. At tight end, again, still we've got Hawkinson, Goddard, and Ertz available. If somebody like let's see, is Kyler Murray still available? Kyler Murray is still available. I think he would be a very, very good pick in the end of the 7th round. Do I expect him to be there? Hell no. And right on cue, he goes with the 2nd pick in the 7th round. Could not have timed that any better. So kudos to us on that. And I think that basically kind of puts us in a position for running back at least to go with somebody like an A.J. Dillon. We'll see if there's a tight end run here. T.J. Hawkinson just went off the board. Elijah Moore, and then Devonta Smith. I'm not going quarterback here. I'm going to go... I know these 2 guys after me, they already have a tight end, so the likelihood that they take a tight end, very, very small. Wide receiver, let's see if there's anything we love here. I do like Allen Lazard, but let's, maybe make the more logical move, taking A.J. Dillon. Maybe it might be considered a little bit of a reach, but actually I've seen Dillon go much, much earlier. And then on top of that, when you consider that this is a 12-team league, I'll take A.J. Dillon at the end of the 7th round, pair him up with Aaron Jones. So I'm not too mad at that. Now we can go tight end finally. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, all great options. I'll go with Dallas Goedert. I've already got, Marquis Brown on the squad, so don't want to load up too much over there and invest too heavily on it in terms of Arizona pass catchers. Now, it would make sense for us to go to a quarterback next. Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance, Derek Carr. Those are the top 4 guys with good reason. They're the ones that I would consider, potentially in that order, you could argue, especially with Matthew Stafford and the, possible elbow issue. I'll still queue him up, though. Him and Derek Carr would be my next 2 highest ranked quarterbacks in that order. And, guys that I also like, I wouldn't mind taking Cole Kmet as well to kind of get some more depth at the tight end position in case something happens, in case a guy like Dallas Goedert struggles. I think it's a good value pick with Cole Kmet. But overall, let's kind of start breaking down this roster. We went 3 running backs immediately out of the gate. I really like our combo of Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott. I like the fact that we were able to get a handcuff in A.J. Dillon at a relatively good point in time as well. So I think our running back situation actually looks pretty decent. We can queue up somebody like an Alexander Madison as well to lock up all of those literally handcuffs. A wide receiver, we don't necessarily have like a top 5, top 10 guy, but I think Marquis Brown, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster are all like top 15 type of talents, right on the verge of it. So I'm happy with that situation. High upside guys. We got Dallas Goedert. We didn't get a chance to land Kittle or Waller, but I think Goddard is, still a high upside guy. Maybe in that tier 3 category, but still somebody that I don't mind riding with. So if we can add Cole Kmet to that group, let's go ahead and just queue him up as well. Just queue up some talent that I really like. Him, Allen Lazard as well, if he somehow drops to us. As soon as I say that, to go and add him, of course, he's drafted here in the 9th round. So that wasn't meant to be, but, I think this is a pretty good roster, all things considered. I'd give it a solid B grade. I think we did a very, very good job with our running backs. We've built some decent depth as well, and we didn't rush the quarterback situation, and I think that's going to end up proving, just proving to be a good move because, in my opinion, it's just a very, very deep position. So I'm going to go with, I'll go with Matthew Stafford just because right now, assuming he's healthy, I do want to get the stack between him and Allen Robinson. So I feel good about that. And then here next, as long as he's there, I will draft Cole Kmet. And then we can kind of wrap this thing up. We've gotten pretty deep into it in terms of building out the roster, in terms of getting the depth and, getting the core of the team taken care of. But as always, kind of let me hear it in the comment section, your thoughts, along with any other questions you guys might have. I'll do my best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. And lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. All the details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.